What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bringing another little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the moon in Taurus in the sixth house, and this is an interesting one for the moon to be in. Now, when you talk about the moon, the nature of the moon is like how we feel. The moon can deal with the emotions, the constant waxing and waning, the tuning into the fluctuations, the cycle of things. That's the moon. The moon really helps take care of the body. I like to think of the moon as like the connecting force between the sun and the ascendant, because it's the ascendant's on Earth, the sun is sun's doing this thing, and the moon's revolving around the Earth. So this is a very important placement for when we're talking about in astrology. This again is like how you like to have how we want to be nourished and nurtured in things, and how we may nourish and nurture others. So yeah, definitely an important one that you want to get to know. Very time sensitive, and the luminary that you look a little more to when you're working, if you happen to have a night chart. Now, when we talk about Taurus, Taurus is ruled by the lovely Venus, and they are the fixed earth sign, and they're receptive or yin in nature. And I find that Taurus really has this how do I want to put this really great growing capacity. I'm just talking about Taurus in general. I like to think of them as the farmers. This is the very grounded part of Venus, things that create, when you're just tending to the land, there's something peaceful about that, being amongst nature, being among, around surrounded by bird sounds, and feeling the heat of the sun and nice breezes and things. That's when I think about Taurus. Things are very peaceful, music, crafting, maybe working with clay, building things of long lasting beauty. I think that's the capacity that Taurus energy really has there. And there's a very great storing energy, very great perseverance, patience, strength that comes with Taurus as well there. So yeah, Taurus is a really cool energy. And then you talk about the sixth house. Now, this in traditional astrology was known as the house of bad fortune. It's one of those houses, one of those trickier ones. I have the north node here, but some of the themes that the sixth house covers are themes of like misfortunes, bad luck, troubles, illnesses and disease. We want to look at accidents and injuries. Servitude is another thing. Jobs is something that comes up. This is a bit of a combative house too. This can deal with like military or armed services. There could even be like enemies involved with this, insurrections, and interestingly enough, small pets as work animals. No, but just small animals in general. I'm thinking like smalls probably about like maybe we're talking like goat size. Now, so when we're combining all of this stuff, a couple of things to consider. You would have a Sag rising by whole sign, and you're going to want to look to Venus, because Venus is going to be in charge of this house and in charge of your 11th house, which is going to deal with like your friendships, your groups, associates, allies, hopes and dreams for the future, things along those lines. And then you're going to want to look at the 8th house, because that's going to be the house that the moon is in charge of, and those themes will flow to this house. And then those themes can deal with themes like about mortality, and the fears and anxieties around that. This can deal with like shared resources or assets, between a spouse or a business partner, family, inheritances, debts, things, occultish things along those lines. Those could be some things that come up with that 8th house. So a couple things that I would talk about with this one, replacement with this, because even though the moon is not in the best house, she's in a great sign, because Taurus is the sign where the moon is exalted. And so this is when a planet, or in this case a luminary, is exalted. This is where they're able to express their higher qualities more easily. This is again a celebrated place when a planet or a luminary is in their sign of exaltation. So I think that there's something here to be able to turn that misfortune into be able to neutralize it out, to turn it into some sort of advantage here. Because let's take the accident, or let's take like the illnesses and disease. I like to think of this house as like a preventative maintenance house. So this is one where you're going to want to have a really great relationship with the body. Pay attention to the things that you're nourishing it with. How you're pay attention to how you're feeling and what those tuning into the cycle, because that's why I think the moon does so well in Taurus, is because she's in tune with nature. That's really a Taurian thing that I like, that I associate with them. And so when she's in tune with the growing cycles and things, I mean, look at what nature does, always provides. And so this could be where you are maybe working with herbs. I think that would be fantastic, doing like looking into herbalism, working with making different teas, different tinctures, maybe salves, maybe even like, doing like cooking. I think that would be a great use of this energy. Learn different recipes. So again, working with, playing around with different herbs. Maybe you're cooking with rosemary. Maybe you're cooking with seaweeds. Maybe you're cooking with whatever that might look like. I think that could be a fun sort of avenue to explore, and something that you could share with others. Something that what others could benefit from. Something that you can maybe even do as your main kind of job. Even if we're talking about that, your kind of like occupation. Maybe you're do some sort of like work as a chef, or maybe you do some sort of like, this could be great sort of like caretaker. I could see that as another thing that comes up, maybe sort of nurse, doctor, energy worker, healer, probably even like working as far as like massage, or like kind of like Reiki. That might be another thing that might come up in this placement, as far as both maybe learning it, but even getting like as far as like maybe even receiving those sort of practices for yourself there. That might be something to help you work out the stresses when you do find yourself a little down on your luck, sometimes going through a tough time, because we all go through 6 house placements. But at least you have tools to help you get back centered into your body, to take care of your body there. And again, who knows, with this may be where you could create some sort of like, share some like recipe, or create some sort of like tea blend or something where you share this with other people. Maybe make some money on the side as your main thing. Maybe even start a farm. Like talking about the small animals as work, or small pets as workers. This could be where you got some goats. Maybe get yourself a sheep hound. Get yourself maybe some pigs or some chickens or something along those lines. Something maybe where you're tending to animals, taking care of the land. Don't got to be a big old farm. I mean, it could if you want it to be, but just something where you're maybe just working with, again, with the nature like that. You're tuning into to different cycles of things. And the moon in Taurus, I think, does very, very well with that, tuning into just a natural environment around it, knowing when, oh, the frost is coming, I need to start doing this, or oh, the birds are doing this, or things start doing that, let me start cropping this out. And then you start transferring that metaphor, like that sort of metaphorically, into your day to day. And I think that's something where I can see this as a very hard-working moon, too. Something that really can produce some really quality work. I would, especially, I think everyone benefits from doing like things that they, of course, enjoy and love. But I think especially for when you have planets or points in like Libra or Taurus, doing something that is more Venusian, there has some sort of Venusian quality to it. Or if you're not interested in things like that, bringing those qualities to your work. So let's say if you work in an office, maybe having some little like aroma there, like some essential oils there, or maybe some sort of like, maybe if they, depends on how the place feels about candles, but you can get an unscented candle and just have that just sort of there, something kind of peaceful to be around, some just sort of energy, or just have a plant in your place, whatever that might look like. I think that could be very beneficial here. Yeah, working with animals, maybe like a vet sort of thing. This is a really, I think, again, a cool place. And again, this is not just turning. This is where you're just getting a bunch of misfortune. This is going to be stuff that people around you will experience too. And I think that you could have a lot to share with that. The one thing I would say, the kind of last thing with this, is that maybe the moon in this placement could give too much of itself to people. So that would be something I would keep in mind of. Even though, people may see you as a rock, you need to take care of yourself too sometimes. That, again, that Taurus energy, I think, can store a lot. And so, yeah, you want to make sure that you're regularly kind of, moving that energy along, or at least, you don't want to compound. It's just like with nature. Eventually, all the leaves fall, it gets bare, so it can grow new things. So that's just something I think to keep in mind there. But I'm just talking very generally with this placement there. You definitely need the whole chart to get a better idea of what are some things that would manifest. But I would love to hear if you have this placement or know someone who works with this placement down in the comments. Tell us how this is showing up for you. What are some things that I didn't mention, or what are maybe some things you hadn't thought about, or maybe you want to explore. And if you like the way that I talk about astrology and things, and you want to work more personally with the planets, the transits, your chart, things along those lines, there's a link in the description box that has an email, that has my email there, and you can get in touch with me till we talk about the services that I provide and go from there. So you forming relationships. And then if you want to just follow the transits weekly, I do videos on this channel as well that are Celestial News Weekly. And let's talk about what signs the planets are at, where to look for that in your chart, and what themes may be coming up for you, and how to work with those energies. And speaking of your moon placement, you exalted moon, if you want to work with follow the moon more closely, which absolutely follow the moon. But come on over to, you want an easy way to do it, come on over to my other channel, The Chariot and Friends, where I talk about, I release videos every time the moon changes signs. So that when I release it, like literally the minute that the moon changes over to the sign. So you'll know exactly where the moon's at all times. But I'll talk about also what phase she's in and when she's going void, of course, all those lunar shenanigans. And I also do an I Ching reading and a tarot card reading in there as well. So get all sorts of mysticism, kind of see the style and what you could expect from if you were to do a reading with me. So just some things to think about. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one. Later.